Hi, Monica. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting these essays for you. Let's take a look at what you wrote in this set. You did the one about ex-prisoners. Here's what you said. It is argued that people who experience prison sentences can be great role models for young adults in terms of prevention. In this essay, I will explain why I think it is good to have real-life examples for teenagers and how it can help with prevention committing a crime in adolescence. Okay, so I like the first sentence. I thought it was fine. My problem is with the second sentence because this is not what the essay is asking you. Take a look at what it says here, that ex-prisoners are the best people, okay? The best people to talk to teenagers about crime. So, what you wrote here, that it's good to have real life examples, is not really quite capturing what the essay is asking you to say. The essay is asking you, are ex-prisoners the best people to do this? Is there somebody better, perhaps? Because really, the whole essay lies in this expression, the best people, this comparison here. So compared to whom? All right. So you said it's good to have real life examples. I wanted something a little stronger. Okay. I wanted something more specific. So in this essay, I will explain why only someone who has experienced prison can really get through to young people. Okay. So that would have really grasped this idea of being the best people and really been very specific. Okay. Now let's continue on to the next paragraphs. First of all, young people are learning faster by experiencing certain things. In learning institutions, they are learning lots of theoretic subjects. I think you mean theoretical. However, it is known they can remember better by having real life experience. Schools often show students videos on YouTube or let them read examples in books. Students don't pay attention and concentrate on other tasks. Having someone who experienced life in prison would get their attention and help to inform them about the danger waiting outside. Teenagers often listen to authorities who experience real struggles rather than teachers who are only talking in theories. The first thing I noticed in this paragraph is that your central idea was not clear to me. Okay? Because you didn't have a very clear topic sentence. Now, the topic sentence is the first sentence in the paragraph, which pretty much introduces us to the central idea of the paragraph. So, here, from what I understand, the central idea is the fact that students will pay attention to these ex-prisoners because it's real life, it's experience, it's I've lived this and I've gone through it, and so students will pay attention rather than being taught theories. That's your central idea, that this is a much more powerful message. Excuse me. I'm still sick. Okay. Um, so I felt like it took you a while to get to that. In fact, you really only had one sentence that talked about prisoners, and so that didn't help either. So what I would suggest here is really, excuse me, kind of rearranging this paragraph to make sure that that central idea is clear from the beginning. And there are several ways to do this. It's all about how you structure your paragraphs. So that first sentence in that paragraph should basically tell the reader, look, this is what this paragraph is about. Okay? So something like, excuse me, nothing is as effective in teaching youngsters as firsthand experience, which ex-prisoners have. Okay, that's a little convoluted, it's a little long, but something even simpler could be something like, ex-prisoners are the most effective educators because they have actually experienced prison. Okay, you can start off your sentence like that, and then you can say something like, this is because students pay attention to real life examples and to experiences that are more tangible, that are more relatable, rather than being taught theories. In contrast, when students are taught about crime through movies or through videos on YouTube or or through textbooks, this is less effective. Okay, so this is a different way to organize your paragraph that makes it really a lot stronger. Okay, now I did also see some grammatical mistakes here. I didn't like this are learning faster. It should just be learn faster. Okay, present simple for just a fact. So I didn't like this in learning institutions, they are learning. You had the word learning like a lot in those two sentences. Okay. So in schools, they learn a lot of theoretical subjects. And then you don't need all these comments. However, comma, it is known, you don't need a comma there, that they learn better by having real life experience. Now, here you have to be careful because real life experience in this context would be actually committing a crime and going to jail. So this isn't really the expression you want to use here. Okay? And then I felt that this sentence didn't really link back to what you were saying. Because you were saying they remember by having real life experience. And then you're like, oh, but schools let them show videos. But schools show them videos and the students are paying attention. So I didn't really like this. I didn't feel like it had a logical flow. I want you to think of your paragraphs as chains, as links, okay? And each link in the chain has to connect to the next and to the next and to the next. And so it flows rather than kind of going back and forth like I felt this did. All right? So, and this should be teenagers often listen to authorities. Careful with this word authorities. By the authorities, we mean people like the police, we mean even teachers, like authority figures. So I don't think this is the right word you mean here. I think you meant teenagers often listen to maybe authentic stories of people who experienced real struggles rather than teachers. Okay, that would have been a better word here. So there were a variety of different issues here with this paragraph. Okay, let's look at the next one. So moving on, another important point to mention is that people who experience prison can teach adolescents how drugs, alcohol, prostitution, or thefts are dangerous. I would have just said theft singular. And then how drugs, all right, fine. Although there are, excuse me, many books and libraries about these topics, people who experience them are the best example for teenagers. All right, you already said that. Some students might have already tried some drugs like cigarettes or marijuana. It's with a J, not an H. This could be one step closer to trying other drugs and getting into trouble, singular. Ex-prisoners can explain from their own experience how bad the side effects can be. I remember when I used to go to school, once they invited a person who ended up in prison. This person's life story got stuck in my head until today, and I never touched any drug. Now, I have to tell you, I actually like this paragraph a lot more. I thought the structure of it was better, and I felt like your central idea was a lot clearer. So this was a much better structured paragraph than this, and it was better developed. You had a very clear idea, okay? They can teach adolescents how these things are dangerous. Here, you kind of went back and forth, and it's kind of like you were confused and lost about what to talk about. So I'm going to give you a suggestion here. You could have talked about teachers here and how teachers are ineffective. All right, so here's what you could have done. You could have said, many people believe that the role of teaching youngsters about the dangers of crime should fall on teachers, period. However, teachers can only provide students theoretical knowledge, maybe some movies from YouTube, but these are clearly ineffective because students tune them out and are not moved or influenced at all by what they see or hear. Okay, so that's how you could have talked about this. Maybe you could have also said parents are often also held responsible for teaching their teenagers about the dangers of crime, but parents too, due to the generation gap and due to perhaps being authority figures. Students find them difficult to relate to or open up to. And I don't know, you could say something else about basically what I'm suggesting here is maybe in this first paragraph, you could have had one or two groups of people who are often believed to have the responsibility for this, and then talk about why they're ineffective. And then this paragraph would have been a lot stronger and a lot better. Okay, so that's one way you could have organized this essay to make it really effective. Okay, to conclude, I strongly agree that people from prison are the best people who are able, they are the best people to talk to teenagers. All right, get rid of some of those words. They have real life experiences. They can be very helpful in shaping a child's personality. I think they should get more support from learning institutions and host seminars to keep young adults informed about the danger outside. All right, this is great. Now, if you had done something like this in your introduction, your introduction would have been so much stronger. Look how clear this is. They are the best people to talk to teenagers. It's so clear. And I want you to remember as you progress in IELTS that your conclusion basically needs to be a mirror of your introduction. Okay, so you did really well in your conclusion, but I'd like to see something very similar in your introduction. Okay. All right. Uh, this is tiny. I think I need to make it bigger. Can't really read it, but let's see. This table shows information on how many vehicles Audi and BMW were sold in Scotland. Okay. Overall, we can see that all months were successful in sales except for, not except of, okay, it's except for March, April, and October, where sales were one of the lowest for specific brands. All right, that's awkward. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. Just give me a second. Okay, so you're saying March, April, and October. Yeah, so for BMW, March and October were really bad. And then for Audi, April was really bad. Okay. I got that. Let me just make this smaller again. Okay. So, overall, yeah, I still wouldn't have done this. You're basically comparing two car brands throughout the year. So I think what you could have done here is you could have said something. How about there are a handful of things you could have talked about in your overview. Number one, just looking at this, it appears to me that maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. That on average, Audi had higher sales. That's the first thing I'm sensing just looking at these bars. Like if you look at how many times Audi is above this 100,000 mark, it's a lot higher than BMW, right? And you could also have, so that's one thing I would have said. On average, it appears that Audi had higher sales than BMW. So that's something you could have said in your overview. Another thing you could have said in your overview that is rather that while sales varied throughout the year, okay, for both car companies, Audi showed the highest sale as well as the lowest sales. Okay, because I think that's really interesting because this is the lowest point in the chart and this is the highest point in the chart, and both of those belong to Audi. So those are two things you could have talked about. Okay, I wouldn't want you to get into more specifics like the month with the highest sales was June and the month with the lowest sales was April. I wouldn't want you to get into details like that, and I don't think those are as important. You're looking at this in a more holistic kind of way. Okay, so the other two suggestions that I mentioned, I think would have been good. Okay, Audi sold over 50,000 vehicles in January and almost doubled the sales in February. In April, sales drastically dropped to about 10,000. Over the next 3 months, sales slowly increased again and then dropped to around 40,000 sold vehicles. For the rest of the years, average Audi sold on average about 100,000 every month. Okay, let me see. I just want to check the accuracy of your data here. So, what are you telling me? That in January, Audi was 50 and then it went up and then it stayed high in March. You didn't say anything about March. You just, okay, that's fine. You don't have to, but you did say what happened in April. So that was good. Then you said it increased again, right? And then dropped. Where did you talk about that? It slowly increased. Did you tell me when it dropped to 40,000? Oh, maybe you meant here. Yeah, okay. No, I'm having a hard time with this. When did Audi drop to 40,000? I'm so confused. Look at this. Over the next 3 months, one, two, hold on a second. April drastically dropped. Right. To 10,000 over the next 3 months. One, two, three, well, four. Increase and then drop to around 40. So I'm really confused about where you got this 40 because 40 would have been somewhere down here. So that's not correct. It dropped to around 40,000 vehicles. So I'm very confused by that figure. I'm wondering if maybe you confused Audi with BMW here. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm really not sure what happened, but there's definitely some misinformation with your data. And then you said that it sold 100,000. I'm not seeing that really either. I mean, yeah, here, but then a little under, and then here it's, I don't know, around 75,000. So I'm not so sure about that. All right, so there seems to be some inaccuracy. I like the way you handled this. Like your grouping was a good idea. We talked about like the 3 months and use things like double. All of those things were good, but like I said, there was some inaccuracy. All right, let's see what happened with BMW. BMW sold almost 125,000 cars in January. It is almost double in contrast with Audi, which sold only half of their cars. All right. Now I don't like the same as Audi. It should have been as with Audi or like Audi would have been really just very clear. Like Audi, BMW's sales also dropped from around 100 to 10,000 in March. Let me just check the accuracy. Okay, that's fine. That's true. Then sales went up and reached the peak in August with around 130,000 sold cars. When in August? Is that what you said? Ah, wait. Yes. Okay. Another dramatic, not with an AL, drop happened in October where there were only around 10,000 sales. All right, let's see your accuracy here. Good. You didn't tell me what happened between August and October. Not a big deal. I mean, we don't totally need that figure. That's fine. This is interesting. In contrast with Audi, which sold around 100,000 vehicles, sales from BMW went up and remained relatively stable until the end of the year. Now, okay, fine. Let's talk about this now. You had in this chart 24 pieces of data. And I think in general, you did a nice job of grouping and of focusing on like the right things to focus on. There are a couple of points though that I would have liked you to mention. Okay, there are a couple of differences here. First of all, you mentioned the starting point. You mentioned January for both cars. Hold on, let me cough for a second. Just give me a minute. Right. So you mentioned the starting point and then you mentioned the peaks, and that was fun. I like that. But one thing you didn't really mention was the end of the year. You simply mentioned, oh, it was stable or, oh, whatever. But for me, that last month, I want you to think about it like a book or like a movie. When you see a movie, what are the really important points? The beginning is important, the key plot like spots throughout the film, and then the end. You got to know what the end is, right? Otherwise, why did you go see a movie? So for me, I think it's very important to know where these figures finished at the end of the year. And for me, those were data points that you should have continued, you should have had. Here it was just like, okay, Audi sold on average around 100,000 a year. I didn't see that really. I didn't see that at all. It wasn't on average 100,000, because if you're talking about this last period here, only here it reaches 100, and then here it's, reasonably below. So I would not have said that. Okay. And then with BMW, you said they went up again, but you didn't tell me to where. Okay. You only told me they went up, but you don't tell me where that figure is, not even like approximately. And so that's another piece of data that I really would have wanted. Okay. Those two things for me are missing. Other than that, I thought you did a really good job. You've definitely gotten the idea of how to um, how to maybe skip over some pieces of data aren't so important. I like that you did that. But yeah, I would have liked some of these key pieces here instead. Yes to the beginning, absolutely. Yes to focusing on this low and this low. I think it's also interesting to talk about this low. I feel like you kind of got confused here with Audi and BMW at some point. Yeah, and then I don't want you to neglect the end. All right, so I definitely see the beginnings of some really good IELTS writing, but there is some work that we need to do. Okay, I hope that we can do that work together. I would love to help you to reach your IELTS goals. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, I look forward to seeing more of your work, and best of luck to you.